Summoners, how are you doing today? IPL5 qualifier number 2 for the NA side. I'm Hat Person. With me, as always, is the Red Baron. Got CLG.Black and Ordinance playing for you today. So we are playing these off the replays. Yep. This was played not too long ago, but still still pretty close by. But we got the plays for you. You haven't seen them.
I haven't seen them.
I've dipped in and out. I'm still not quite sure what fully happens. You just,
I just love the concept of that. Like, we're looking at replays, and you want to go in unspoiled. You're like, oh, it's a big surprise. I get to, it's opening up presents for Christmas. Yeah. And I don't know to what degree you've seen.
Well, here's the thing, because while we were this match was actually going on while we were having a farewell party for one of our StarCraft guys. So I would come in, I would start the game, I'd watch in, I'd spectate, I'd leave to go party, come back with food in hand, watch the next game, and then leave and go right back to the party. I was dipping in and out. So I mean, I have and we also have all the pick band data for you as well.
Oh,
so I did actually record a lot of that as well.
Go right into this,
so let's go.
I'm going to exit this replay quick because I would much rather discuss the pick bands for a second.
Well, we can do it while we're loading.
Okay, while we're loading,
we can be multitask. I mean, not a whole lot happens in the first minute or two in most games anyway. Okay. So, game number 1, we got CLG.Black and Ordinance here. In order, bands: CLG.Black, Alistar, Karthus, Kennen, Ordinance, Kog'Maw, TF, and Urgot. And in order here, you have Shen, Corki, Tarek, Cassiopeia, and Yorick for CLG.Black. And then for Ordinance in order.
Can we go over the order? Like, can we do back and forth?
We can do back and forth. Okay, so
give it some pomp and circumstance.
All right.
CLG.Black versus Ordinance. We're going into it. Pick number 1.
Shen.
All right. Is that first?
First pick for CLG.Black.
Okay, so then Ordinance. Where are we going?
Soraka Graves. So grabbing that combo down bot, pretty easy and secure. Then from there, CLG.Black gets their bot lane. They got Corki and Tarek.
Okay, cool. So, a really aggressive bot lane versus the Graves and Soraka. Yep. So Graves and Soraka have, both lanes have a lot of pushing potential, but a little bit more of a sustained advantage. But still, Graves and Tarek, that's a pretty devastating lane. That'll be cool to watch. Ordinance
then goes ahead and grabs the Maokai and grabs the Kayle. They grab the Kayle without knowing the top laner for CLG.Black, who, in response, grab Cassiopeia and Yorick.
Oh, very cool. So this is actually really interesting. I'm looking at the matchups right here, and both teams being extremely aggressive with their invades here. CLG.Black, you see Cassiopeia, Tarek, Shen, Corki. That's a devastating level 1 team. So they're looking for a potential invade, maybe come late into this blue to slow them down. But we have Ordinance with the nice ward coverage here, and then coming over to their own blue. So they're perfectly fine there. As long as both junglers can start off with the blue, that'll be nice. But we'll see whether or not CLG.Black actually walks into this, or if he's going to maybe go back to red. We'll have to see. It looks like he's going to set up at race and then probably head over to blue afterwards. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that works out. The Yorick versus Kayle matchup's always interesting because Kayle is one of the most aggressive top laners in the game, and it's just such a devastating lane to go against. However, Yorick actually does very well against Kayle. You have enough regen, and you have enough damage where you can just kind of bully him around a little bit. We actually have Spellzy walking into the bush, though, going down for the first blood. I'm just so shocked, so I'm just going to look at that again.
Spellzy just wanted to walk in just to get curious. I believe just to put down the ward. Yep, there's a ward, and there's your dead.
I didn't even feel like the game had started yet. I'm just sitting here going through picks and bans in my mind. We do have Maokai starting off with the red, so you get the quick level 2. Maokai did start off with the smash first, so that arcane smash, you can go Q into a fast W. He hasn't leveled up anything yet, so we'll see what he does with that, but that's a really nice ganking potential early on. He's kind of coming down to watch out for his mid lane because we do have Tarek down here. He is going to invade a little bit, so Maokai will want to play kind of defensively for a second here.
So Maokai going with the Q, going for the smash first. That's indicative of going for an early gank, which he's trying to set up here against Cassiopeia, but Shen is not too far behind. He's right there. Yoda has been pinged out. Shen knows he's there, going to go ahead and have to back off just for a moment. But look also at this. Look who's top lane.
Yeah.
You got Corki and you got Tarek switching it up against Kayle. So the Kayle-Yorick matchup, I mean, it's kind of, whoa, actually got Shen just trying to get away. Shen's got to get out of there, but there is Ari trying to get something to happen there onto Link. He does have to flash away, but in response, Yoda does flash, gets the twisted advance, and keeps her still for just a moment, grabbing the kill on Cass in mid.
Yeah, so some really nice aggression mid, and Maokai is one of the most aggressive gankers early on.
Yeah.
Cassiopeia doesn't really have a lot of mobility early, so she was trying to get some harass onto Ari there, kind of pulled herself out of position, and we do see Maokai, still kind of camping this to,
Zuna's just
Shen
trying
behind.
to defend the mid, trying to get away that twisted advance. Oh, and all the way over into tower range. Yoda will take a quick chunk and then back off. But look at bot lane though. Like Robert is just pushing the lane with Graves hardcore. I mean, that's what Graves naturally does, though. I mean, that's just what he does. He wants to keep the passes stacked. He wants to keep going, and he wants to continue his farm. But if you look at top lane, though, Corki, along with Tarek, really pushing out the lane, really trying to shut down Kale.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Kale versus Yorick. Kale is one of the strongest top laners in the game. Yorick actually, works as almost a counter to Kale, does pretty well. But Yorick also works very well in a 1v2. Yorick versus Kale is a pretty even lane matchup. Yeah. But Yorick can do the 1v2 situation, so they're sending Corki and Tarek because they know Soraka is a more passive lane. Aggressive lanes work better in the 1v2. So they have the Corki Tarek against Kale. That puts, Kale into a really just dangerous position up there. So Yorick, still going to be behind in farm, but both of them should be, and Yorick doesn't really care that much if he's behind in farm. I mean, he's really just...
He's there.
I mean, he's going to be there for his ultimate in fights. He's just going to be kind of a tanky body regardless, whereas Kale needs to get out some quick damage, and if we see some nice harass going on, or even pushing him into the wave, just that constant harass against Kale could just really shut Brax out of this game.
And right now, Yorick, just as a champ, I mean, he can sustain on his own pretty nice. He just max out the E. That's what most Yorks do top lane anyway. You max out the E just to get the damage, get the sustain. If Kale wants to sustain against a 2v1, if she wants to stay in lane, the heal is going to be a huge part of just staying there. But that's not usually what Kale will max out first. She usually goes ahead and maxes out for the Q. So
you may actually well, regardless of whether or not we have this gank mid, because Maokai coming in once again trying to shut down Cassiopeia, and it looks like he might be pretty successful here. The sapling actually chasing him down. Cassiopeia does get the movement speed boost from the Q, so really nice play there. In the meantime, chasing down into this top tower, trying to pick up the kill there. I'll go back for a second because we do have Kale trying to pick up these golems, and Zuna going to be picking her up. Does get like some nice damage, can't finish it off.
AFKing for a little bit there, just like, I'll take the golems. There's no way Shen's going to come and try and stop this, but no, he will. He'll try. But that's the thing, though. Kale's being pushed so far back that, she has to go ahead and farm the her own neutral creeps. Just try and catch up. So, and Maokai's going to have a little bit more presence up there. And Tarek and Corki are just really looking to push down the tower here. But then again, same thing's going on the opposite side. Graves and Soraka are doing a pretty good job bot as well. But do you think? I don't know. I'm not sure if we're actually going to see a lane switch here, though. That's the thing, because it's usually the team that switches first is in an advantageous position. You force the other team to go ahead and switch lanes to try and get a better matchup. Then they switch back in return, and all of a sudden, actually Yoda going in for a twist advance down on Zuna. The taunt is there in response. Ari is here to try and help save, and yes, actually going to get them to back off. But like I was saying, the team that switches first in any match is usually in the advantage.
We're actually still going to be fighting for this. We do have Cassiopeia going down, Yoda as well. So it is a little bit of a swap there, but Ari definitely going to be on top of that exchange.
Yep. So eventually, if Ordinance is looking to switch here, CLG.Black in a switch and then the switch back, eventually we'll have two champs from CLG.Black if they decide to keep going with this. Two champs bot against one champ on Ordinance, at which point that's better Dragon position. It's more meant for Dragon if you ever want to go ahead and go for it. But I mean, Psycho Sid's doing okay. All things considered, he's out of mana though. He's out of health potion, so he's gonna have to back soon. But thankfully enough, Shen's nearby, and actually gonna be going for the blue steel once again.
Yeah, and this should actually be pretty interesting because he is completely out of position. Not really that interesting because he does go down extremely quickly. The big thing that's kind of interesting about the swaps is that Kale, like you said, it's not so much leveling the heal, it's the fact that the heal is so expensive. And if you're forced to use the heal, Kale actually has a really low mana pool. Very quickly, you can find yourself in a really dangerous position there. But also, Tarek, he doesn't really contribute a lot to pushing. He's mainly there for aggression. So we see a little bit more damage on this bottom turret than this top turret. Kale can kind of keep the creeps off a little bit more easily, whereas Graves just constantly pushing into the tower and then getting some harass down. If they get an early turret, that could definitely be huge for them. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, the big thing is that Kale needs farm, and Kale really is a double AD comp. Like, however you think of Kale, Kale is a counter to top lanes. You want to look to have that aggressive top lane, but it's really a double AD comp. And yes, you can use Kale just for the ultimate, but you really need some nice physical damage coming from her as well. We'll have to see, though. I mean, Ahri is doing fantastically, and Ahri actually, it works as a counter against Cassiopeia. It does very well.
Yep.
We do have Shen dropping the ward up here and is actually going to come in, so we'll see if we can get engaged, but there is the ward there. So Ahri keeping a nice, you know, mind of where Shen is, and Maokai's actually coming down. So we might see a counter gank here, or just, you know, outright engage on Shen.
The ward is in the bush. Zuna, he has been spotted, but doesn't quite know. Now he knows. He knows he's going to get sandwiched. Might want to go ahead and get out of there, but the charm going down. I don't like flash from Maokai into nothing. So a little bit of a waste there, but you know, ping's going down. They know now about around where Maokai is. Getting some wards down in the enemy jungle, but look, Tarek and Corki are here to visit mid. They're giving a little bit of time for Kale to actually go ahead and get that farm that she so sorely needs, but York is coming up. Look at Soraka. Soraka's a little bit far out there, but there goes the Cassiopeia ult. Ahri trying to get something in on that, but she does actually go down to the Shen. And it looks like now Soraka's in a very bad spot. Spellsy was just in a wrong spot. He's just going all the way through the jungle, and Graves. Robert was just like, you know, I'm not having any of this, and that's a dragon.
Really nice bait from CLG there. So they recognize, all right, Ahri is really strong right now. Ahri works as a counter to Cassiopeia. You have the mobility where you can just hop around, avoid some of the damage, and you have the quick burst. So let's all just kind of sit back here. You know, they don't quite have vision of us. We pick up the kill. We come get the dragon. We have a nice little gold advantage right off the bat. And, you know, again, it's not just the gold advantage, but it's where the gold is. And right now, you look at Corki versus Graves. They're very, very even. Graves has, you know, kill advantage there, but you look at Kale versus York. Both of them are really far behind. Kale's actually, you know, out farming them. I don't know. It's just generally even farm all around. But the big thing is keeping that Kale under farmed is just huge for CLG right now.
Mm-hmm. And Kale, she needs those damage items. You know, Infinity Edge. You know, one of those vital things that she wants to be a contributing factor in most of these fights. You know, it's going to take quite a bit of farm to actually catch up to that point as well. Until then, if team fights do happen to happen, she's just going to be there for an ult, maybe a non-substantial heal, but there goes the Maokai. Twisted advance on to Zuna. Does get the Maokai, Yorick ult as well. So we got two Shens, we got two ninjas trying to catch up. It's not really happening, but there you go. There's a Twisted advance onto the Cassiopeia while still in the Maokai ult. And there goes the Shen ult just for a little bit extra shield, but Maokai does actually go down. And now there's a full retreat there. So Cass goes down, Maokai goes down. Quick one-for-one trade. But, you know, CLG.Black is hurting off of that one. York is low.
And then the charm from Connect as well.
Exhaust, though, will actually pay off. The exhaust going down onto the Ahri, reducing the damage, keeping her slowed. York can still actually get away.
Yeah, and so we are seeing some nice damage coming onto this tower here. They might actually back off. They do have enough wave clearing capability where they should be okay. York's really not going to be able to stop them. Ahri's actually leaving, so you know, they will just back out of here. But regardless, you know, a couple of nice kills. You know, for both teams, really, it's just kind of a back and forth game. But we do have the tower. The towers are pretty even right now. We do have the top tower down for CLG, whereas the bottom tower is down for Ordinance. The interesting thing is that, I don't know, the bottom tower for Yorick, it'll make it easier for him to farm. And you can zone them out of the lane. You can just freeze the lane right here. And so, you know, he's perfectly comfortable. Kale is as well. But because that bot turret's down, you know, it doesn't really affect the dragon control that much. You know, whereas the top turret, I don't know, it could potentially draw CLG more towards this top lane if they're trying to, you know, get some aggression against this Kale.
Right, here's the issue though. Kale is being aggressed. Yorick, not at all. I mean, Yorick is just, he's there bot free farming, but Brax though is still facing constant pressure. He's still being repressed there in the top lane while he's just trying to passively farm, but Yorick is just ignored. Psycho Sid is just being left to his own devices, and because CLG.Black, they're still making a presence in top lane, Kale over time will still be, you know, less farmed than Yorick, because Yorick is just, he's just having a ball. He's just having a blast, doing his own thing. And he's actually going to go ahead. He's going to go back, and he's got his tier already. He's got boots. Just waiting for a second. There's a chain vest. There's a sapphire crystal. Looking to go to the glacial shroud, eventually to the frozen heart. Just, you know, build defensive, build tanky, and you know, look to start shutting down some of the ADs. And that's a pretty good item too, considering you have Graves and you have Kale. It's going to shut them. It's going to hinder them both.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we have a nice mix of damage from both teams. You know, there is a little bit more coming out of Ordinance, but actually the quick ult from Ari getting away from that Cassiopeia ult. Unfortunately, the Shen ult does, you know, protect Link there, so he will be okay. But now we actually have the stun into the taunt and tons of damage coming from Cassiopeia very quickly. Oh, just barely not able to pick up that Maokai kill. He just barely gets out of there, but Kale coming in as well. Zuna is caught out of position, gets the taunt over the wall, and there's the ultimate from Robert X. Lee, able to pick that up at the long range. And so now they are in great position here. They can push down this mid turret. You know, Cassiopeia does have great wave clearing, but with how low she is, she probably won't be able to defend this if we get a nice engage.
The key to that last fight, it was all on Spellzy, it was all on Soraka. Just a fantastically timed wish to keep Maokai at just enough life to not completely melt during that last fight. Just, you know, clutch heal, come in at a clutch moment, manage to get, you know, save your teammate, and you know, still get some pressure down on in the mid. But still, though, it's the heal's going to be down for a little while, and now you've also, you know, involved everyone in this. Yoda has to go back. What do you actually pick up for himself? Not too. I mean, he's got 2 GP10s already, so it's, you know, good on him. Graves, he's also working on that Infinity Edge as well. Kale starting to stack the Dorans. Got 2 Dorans plays. Just wants to get a little bit more survivability, a little bit more damage. Could be taking that into the later team fights as well. And actually, I'm looking to see, you know, Ari may actually be going for that lucky pick. Might be going, you know, the DFG is now a pretty popular option for a lot of AP mids. Ari's definitely being one of them. Whole lot of extra burst in that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really nice item choice, particularly now that, you know, they have plenty of damage, but with Kale being shut behind a little bit, they need to get that quick burst damage. Then they have the sustained, and so with the double AD comp, they're easily going to win the sustain. The issue is continuing to have that burst, and
right now Ari
over.
Actually gets hit by the Cassiopeia ult this time, though. May not be as lucky, but there's Kale just in the nick of time with the ult to save the Fox. That could have been a much worse situation than it was. Cassiopeia got the ult off that time, though.
Yeah, and we do have Maokai coming up here, but they have plenty of control right now with Corki top. They should be able to take this. Ari is pretty low, so she's going to want to sit back. If we have like a flash taunt in from Shen, they could definitely take her down. But with Soraka, they should be okay.
There it is.
There it is.
The flash in response, though, coming out from Ari. The Maokai ult does go down and keep him away. You do not want to be fighting in that thing. But now all 5 members of CLG.Black are here. Graves, Robert is just down in bot lane, just looking to farm. So it's a 5v4 push here in the mid. There's a Twisted Advance going down onto Psycho Sid, but a lot of damage going down to Yoda. He does melt pretty quickly. So now you got 3 members of Ordinance just trying to defend against this push in the mid. Might actually have some success, though. Cassiopeia is really low, and now here comes Graves joining the party a little bit late. If he went through the river, he might have actually been able to dash through and get Cass, but
I mean, he doesn't really want to walk into the middle of the enemy team, but right now they are in pretty nice control. They could potentially force the dragon. The issue is that Maokai's not there. Actually, the flash and then the ultimate from Graves trying to pick off the recalling cast, almost able to pick him up there, and they are going to go for this dragon. Now Maokai is coming down, so they will have to watch out about this timing. Shen could steal it pretty easily, just a little dash over the wall. He will probably go down if he tries it, but we'll see. So he's actually not going to defend it, so they will pick up this dragon pretty easily. And so, again, it's a very even game at this point, but Graves is definitely looking really strong. He's going for the Infinity Edge versus the Bloodthirster on Corki, and so the Bloodthirster, you have a little bit more damage at this juncture in the game for team fights for that strength. You have the sustain, so you don't have to worry about coming into fights a little bit late. But with Soraka, Graves doesn't have to worry about the sustain as much. Soraka can kind of keep him topped off, and then he's going to have a little bit higher damage output in the fights, not just AoE, but also that single target focus. So we'll have to kind of see how that works, but the big key is getting Kale into this game, and you know, both Kale and Yorick are behind. Yorick doesn't really care. I mean, all Yorick has to do is build a Frozen Heart, and he's done, and he's well on his way. Yeah,
Kale has a much larger gap to try and close. And you only got the pickaxe. It's you know, one of the cheaper op parts of the Infinity Edge. You still have a good, decent, like, it says like 2,500 gold to go to finish off the rest of that IE. It's gonna take quite a while. So they gotta figure, you know, how is Kale gonna be contributing in these later team fights? You have the ult, and that's gonna be really it for now. And granted, you can still sit back, you can still pile on a little bit extra damage, but right now, you know, prime ult targets. You have Ari, and you have the Maokai, because they're going to be the 2 in the middle of these fights. They're going to be in there in the thick of it, and you see Maokai before in the last fight, just utterly melting to all the force, to all the burst from CLG.Black. It's pretty devastating, but it's a good ult to have when you're in a situation like this. It's just that you wish the champ was a little bit more farmed.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, Kale and York are both going to split up here. Neither of them really has a significant advantage at this point, but York is probably a little bit stronger. So as a result, York can split very comfortably and continue to farm. And maybe Kale, you know, isn't quite able to catch up on that farm like you would like. We do see Ari sitting over here. There's the quick dash, and then the charm into Corki to pull her back. And there's the ult as well, but the Shen ult will get him out of there. The Cassiopeia ult, and then we have some nice damage from Hoodstomp. Nice. The taunt in from Zuna, and Robert X. Lee is going down very quickly. We have the Maokai ultimate, but they are chasing him down. Kale is in here as well. There's the ultimate onto Yoda. He will be okay for a second, but going down almost immediately afterwards. And so a nice little skirmish for CLG. Pick up 2 kills.
So now here's a problem. A problem has been established here for Ordinance, and that is Corki. Corki, he's in the back line. He's putting out all that damage, and now it's just a matter of, you know, can you close the gap? Yoda should be back momentarily though, but you know, Ari has great options to actually go to the back line and take out Corki, and Malcolm can get the twist as advantage as he can as well. But there's a lot to go through, and CLG.Black, they knows they're in a pretty good situation right now. They're just going to go straight on in for the Baron, and they're going to be able to secure it for themselves pretty easy. And there it is. Now that's a 19-minute Baron. That's a pretty quick pickup, all things considered.
Yeah, with 2 of the members down. They don't have, I mean, Cassiopeia gives them a lot of Baron damage, and then with, you know, Corki as well, that's great. And so having the tanks up front, you know, they recognize that Ordinance didn't have, you know, what they needed to in order to defend against that.
Right.
Cassiopeia will get low, but with mana, but it's not really that big of a concern if you know that they're not going to engage. So having that, you know, Baron is just going to be huge for regen. Corki does outrange Graves, so we're going to have like that nice spam going on against Soraka. They don't have to worry about pushes stalling out. And then Cassiopeia can just really aggressively push them straight into towers where maybe they can get those, you know, head-on engages where they just get the nice AoE in front of them. And that's what they're looking for. Ari is really going to be looking to pick people off. Maokai is going to be looking to pick people off. But as long as CLG is in control of the fights right now because they have the Baron, it's really not going to be a concern. So everyone's going to kind of group mid, and we'll see how much of a push we can see from CLG.
And you also see right now that the Zuna's actually going down bot lane. He's looking to push the tower, and it's Shen. He's capable of doing that kind of stuff. Ult is not quite up, but the thing is, though, the Baron buff is still going to be on for a while, and Ordinance knows they can't quite go for these engagements while Baron buff is on CLG. So that's going to kill enough time for Shen to just go ahead, push bot lane, take out possibly the tier 1, and then the ult should just be up any moment now. So it's not going to be too long. He can be in the middle of these fights whenever necessary, and CLG.Black is just going to go ahead and clear out the wave pretty quick. The continued pressure coming in from CLG.Black. The Baron buff though is not gonna last forever. They can't go ahead and do this. They actually have to make plays if they want this to happen, but they're doing a really good job killing time, waiting for Zuna to get to that tier 1.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we do see Shen easily able to push down this tower. Shen, you know, he is kind of a slow pusher, but we do have the attack speed, so working towards maybe a wit's end. We'll have to see. That'll definitely help some. But regardless, he should be able to take that down pretty easily. And now with Ari back for a second, we're going to get some nice damage. This tower should go down, and they do take it fairly easily, and they get the bot turret as well any second now. There it goes. So they can just continue this slow push right down this mid lane while Shen is split pushing. And there's not really a whole lot that Ordinance can do about it. Like, their only thought right now is to defend. They have the Graves and they have the Ari for the wave clearing, but Graves actually has to get pretty short range. So the concern is if you walk into a Taric stun or you walk into Cassiopeia's ultimate, he should generally be okay to sit back for a little bit, but you know, if he maybe comes a little bit out of position, that's definitely going to be difficult for him. And they can't engage because of just how tanky CLG is right now and how much AoE damage both Cassiopeia and Corki have, though Cassiopeia is getting herself pretty low, maybe trying to bait it in.
As the Cassiopeia is not the best tank in the world for tanking those turret shots. But the Shen, I mean, he's doing work down bot. There's about a minute left onto the Baron buff, meaning that the Baron itself is going to respawn in about 4 minutes. So then there's still plenty of time to make at least one more play, try and possibly get one more tower. Zuna's just waiting for his opportunity, gets the Vorpal Blade down, and maybe could potentially get some harass down onto Kale. But you know, Brax is doing okay, just trying to keep him at bay. But still, though, look at all the poke going down onto the mid tier 2, because that's how much, you know, there is the impending threat. And you know, if Ordinance does decide to go and Cassiopeia ult is up, Shen can be innocent with a taunt. Corki has all the burst. York has his ult too. It's just a bad situation, unfortunately. but Baron should be expiring in just a few seconds, though.
Yeah, they should be able to take down this turret, though. The flash ult from Cassiopeia, tons of AoE damage coming off, and we have the Shen ultimate as well. They are perfectly fine. We have Link getting out of there, but then the follow-up, Maokai does go down, and then the taunt onto Graves, and they are chasing down both Graves and Soraka. Now the exhaust onto Zuna, but he's going to be fine. And actually the flash from Psycho Sid, so they are able to pick that up. And just really quickly, CLG takes complete control of this. We have Kale coming in for some nice damage. We could maybe turn around with a stun, but regardless, we picked up our 2 kills. We got the tower. We can go take their blue buff and take Dragon and just continue this gold advantage that we have.
Yep, Black had perfect timing on that flash ult as well. Great spread on the ult as well. They knew, okay, Baron buff is about to go. Got to make a play. Got to make the best of this while we can. And worked out pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the case. And Kale not being able to be there, they have plenty of burst damage. You really, that's what the Kale ultimate is for, is to counter out some of that burst damage. Right. Doesn't matter if Kale's, worrying about a split pushing Shen. So, I don't know, just the fact that we have the AoE and Graves is a short range champion, Maokai has to get up in there. We're picking off like 3 people in Cassiopeia's ult. And so, you saw Link just kind of waiting for that right opportunity, and then it's like, dang, all right, I'm going to go in. We're going to win this fight pretty easily. And having the Cassiopeia and the Corki can easily control the fights. If we can see an engage from Ordinance onto, either of the 2 of them, and it's tough to say. I mean, Corki might be the more valuable target if the cast ult's already down, but if they can split up and engage with Maokai onto the Cassiopeia ult, then they could potentially, take these fights. The issue is they kind of just need to sit off for a little bit, get tankier. If Maokai engages on Cassiopeia versus the ultimate into a Kale ult, that would be ideal for Ordinance. They'd just be like, thrilled to death with that kind of a situation. But we'll have to see. We do have a fight going on top, though. Shen out of position, the taunt, and they're going down as well. Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, getting through the gauntlet to get the engage you want. For the time being, though, Shen is now out of the fight for a little while. And there's a lot to go through. You have to get through Castle, you have to get through Tarek's stun to try and get those objectives you want, but Zuna just trying to split push just was not there. His ult wasn't up either, so he couldn't try and just, safeguard, just stand united with one of his friends just away, not even for the shield, just to get out of there for a quick teleport. But it was down, it wasn't there, and Baron should actually be coming up in about a minute. Shen will be back, so it's still going to be a full 5-on-5 if either team decides to go for it. So now it's the point of strategizing around the Baron. Big objective coming up once again. And there's not a whole lot of ward coverage by Ordinance. CLG.Black, they have 2 great wards, one in the river and one by the Wraith area. So that should be providing enough coverage to know if Ordinance is in the area. But, whoa, Hudstomp actually getting a little bit too far out there. Zuna's actually going to go ahead and ult in to try and help out a little bit, but this could be hairy.
Yeah, it's a 4v2 situation. Cassiopeia dueling with Ahri in the mid, but we'll see. Hudstomp is able to get out of there. Shen able to get out of there as well, so they're able to regroup with their team pretty easily. So we do have the charm coming in from Ahri, but they are fine. And actually, it all kind of starts down with we have Psycho Sid and Link being aggressive on this Ahri, so they're able to force Ahri out of that mid lane, and as a result, they can just force an opening for the rest of their team to group up. So not losing anyone there, definitely a really nice play. Yeah,
just everyone just happened to be around, they happened to be in the neighborhood, and it worked out pretty well. And because of the poor positioning that Ordinance is in, they're able to get a lot of damage down into this tower, and Yoda's actually getting chunked out pretty far. And there goes the Kale ult down onto the tree, trying to save him just a little bit, but Zuna will not be able to survive that one. The turret shot goes down. I think that was a little bit of a misplay from Yorick. I think he tried to ult Shen, but has managed to ult himself or something. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and so that will stall off that push. We'll have to see, how CLG can kind of deal with this situation. But I don't know, we are seeing Ordinance doing a really nice job of stalling out. And if they can get Kale farm, Kale's almost done with an Infinity Edge. Actually does have it sitting back in base. So, Kale with that Infinity Edge, that'll be huge. If we see like a Zeke's Herald a little bit later in the game and we start getting, Maokai tanky, and really the big thing is just surviving their burst damage. I'm kind of surprised that Maokai is building towards that armor, which is definitely nice, but a lot of the damage that they're having issues with right now are Corki and Cassiopeia, which is, it's a lot of that magic shred we do have the armor shred with Corki. We do have the armor shred with Tarek as well. So, you know, that definitely makes sense. But the issue is that they're going down to burst too quickly. So, you know, as long as he gets enough health, he'll be okay. But we do see CLG, you know, going to be pressuring this mid turret or this Baron, see if they can, you know, force a fight here.
They want the Baron. They got it pretty convincingly beforehand, but it looks like they're just trying to force the fight here, if anything else. I mean, you know, they're not. They have the damage in order to take it down pretty quickly. You know, Cassiopeia is there, Corki's there. They have a lot of innate damage on themselves. They're very good at grabbing objectives like Baron and Dragon. But all of Ordinance is here, and Ordinance knows that this is an objective they need to take if they want to be back into this game. But all there, Ari has the mobility to get in there. You have a good ward placement. Maokai can actually just twist it advance right into someone if they're out of position, still in the pit. It could be pretty hairy, but I think it may be in CLG.Black's best interest to just try and bait it out, not necessarily go for it, because they know that, you know, right now Ordinance has a very tough time getting to the back line. Ari and Maokai can get there, but they're not going to leave there.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, we'll have to see. It's a lot of it's going to come down to how much protection we can get for both Graves and Corki. And right now, you know, just the fact that we can have that split push, we have the Shrelius going off, but not really a whole lot of engaged opportunities.
You got to hurry up and get that ward.
Yeah.
You got to hurry up and get that ward down.
But we do have that constant threat of Shen split pushing, you know, bottom the entire time. And, you know, against a split pusher, you either need to have someone who can counter that split push or be really aggressive and pick up a quick kill. And they don't really have either of those options. Shen can beat anyone in a 1v1 almost. We do have Ari picking up that blue, but they don't really have a lot of options for stalling this. And in the meantime, because Shen saw them at that blue, they are coming down for this Baron. Will back off for it for a second, recognize they don't have quite enough damage, and Shen gets another turret bottom, you know, while CLG can just stall out.
Yeah, the cue for going for the Baron is when Shen saw Ari in the jungle. It's like, okay, they're a little bit out of position. There's 4 of you still there. Go for it. But they saw, you know, the quick regroup coming back from Ordinance, and they're like, you know, we got to back off. But look at Zuna, still going away at it, man. Look at that guy.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of options here.
Really
Kale's coming in, but Kale can't even 1v1 Shen at this point. I mean,
he can teleport away
pretty
for free,
much an even matchup, and you know Shen can teleport away, and he is actually coming in. So Kale is split. We do have a 4v5 at Baron, and they're taking it down extremely quickly. It's almost done.
And see, though, that was all part of the plan. You get someone out of position, and Shen can just go ahead and teleport away. And there's the attempt to steal, but they will not be able to get it. And Yoda is right there in the middle of everything, and Ari goes down pretty quickly as well. Shen going over the wall, trying to get in pursuit. There's so many flashes going over through the pit, just trying to pick up more members of Ordinance. But right now, Brax has no choice but to use the ultimate on himself. But in the meantime, Graves will go down. Flash is still in pursuit, and there is Hoodstomp trying to get what he can. Picks up the Kale kill, and Soraka, who cares? You just go ahead and push down this tower and take it pretty easy. There's no way you can defend against this.
Yeah, it's just way too much control from Shen, and you know, forcing them into a situation where they have to just kind of jump over to the Baron wall. They probably needed to just let them have Baron. If they had just forget about Baron, Ordinance lets CLG have Baron and goes and gets a kill onto Shen, or you know, picks up a couple of turrets. That was probably their best situation, because they just, you can't, you know, face check against Cassiopeia. And by, you know, trying to defend against that Baron, very quickly they put themselves in a situation where they had no options for winning. Kale wasn't there to ult anyone, so they didn't, you know, have a counter to that burst. They're all just walking right into it. So now we have top inhibitor down, and then bot inhibitor is almost exposed. So, you know, once we see a push down here, get this tower pretty easily, we could just see a split push again. You know, we'll see. Actually, Shen, you know, when his ult's up, he could actually go top. Despite the fact that the inhibitor's down, the rest of the team goes bottom, and then, you know, he could transition to mid very easily from that, or pressure the Nexus a little bit.
I mean, right now, though, CLG, they just want to go ahead and secure it. They don't want to go ahead and do any crazy plays. Granted, if they just did a grand push right now in any one lane, they might be able to just go ahead and win straight out. But, you know, remember, this is a qualifier match. This is a tournament match. You don't want to leave anything to risk or chance. You want to go ahead. You want to buy. Let them have the turret. That's fine. Actually, Twisted Advance going down onto Tarek. There he goes knockout as well. But Oda actually getting pretty chunked out. But actually, Tarek will go down on this. There's a successful snipe from Ordinance. It's not the, you know, they grab the support, not necessarily grabbing one of the carries, but Yoda still actually trying to get in on there, but they immediately ran the decision, but the Cassiopeia does actually still go down as well. Things are actually looking pretty good for Ordinance right now, but Hood Stomp is still present, can fire off those missiles, could get kills on his own, as definitely. The Yorick ult is not up though, so you do so at your own risk, but Shen still in the bot lane. He's still pushing. He can go ahead and easily get a tower and the inhib on this if Ordinance is left to distracted for long enough.
Oh, and the big thing is they know how powerful they are. Hood Stomp actually not going to be chasing down Kinnick there, but we do have like you said, the pressure bottom. Corki keeping himself high that entire fight, and he has plenty of AoE damage, just going to steal this red, not going to worry too much about pushing, so kind of a missed opportunity there. But you saw that was actually a win for Ordinance. They were able to pick up a kill onto Cassiopeia. They were able to stall out the fight. I don't remember if they got the kill onto Tarek as well.
Tarek was the first one.
Tarek, okay, so they got Tarek and Cassiopeia, and they were able to stall out that Baron. So the game is stalling for them right now, and if they can get the Baron down, which it will be down in about a minute, and then get that inhibitor back up, which it'll also be up in like a minute, then very quickly, we can see how they can control these fights, because as long as they keep Graves and Kale alive, they have plenty of damage. Ahri, there's not really that much of a concern for Ahri to die. The big issue with that Baron fight was that Ahri jumped right into Cassiopeia's ultimate. So as long as we don't have that going again, Ordinance definitely has a huge comeback shot in this game.
Yeah, it's just you just don't straight out do that. But right now, Yoda getting a little bit too apprehensive here, throwing down the ult, just go immediately trying to throw down the Randuin's Omen, trying to slow everyone down. The rest of the team was not with Yoda. He just went in there on his own willy-nilly, and that's what happens. You paid the price, and now you're immediately there in a 4v5 situation against a team with Baron. They can go ahead and just pressure the rest of it. This is looking bad.
Yeah, and you can see in that fight that Ordinance is just really no match for CLG right now, and they didn't have Graves there, so they didn't have their damage, and just how much damage output CLG had. Very quickly, they were able to win that fight. There's the third inhibitor down. Actually, the taunt from Shen, and there's the Cassiopeia ultimate as well. Corki going to work. We do have Graves getting out of there, but Kale will go down.
Wow.
And so this is going to be a game. We will have this Nexus going down any second now as CLG pushes. So CLG.Black beating Ordinance 1-0 so far. We'll see, how they change things up into game number 2. They're just kind of joking around. This probably seems like it's a surrender, or maybe he's just coming back. But there we go. We have the Nexus going down. Excellent play by CLG.
CLG looking pretty good. CLG.Black is, it's a lot of people, CLG.Black is still, the relatively new team. You want to see how they act. You want to see how they deal. There it is. Really nice play, especially from Zuna. But, good all-around team. Corki doing work, Hood Stomp doing work. Game 1. GG going to CLG.Black. Nice job.
Yeah, and it's they definitely looked really strong. They had the pushing Shen. Shen's always really interesting as a jungler because of the counter aggression that you can get. And when you have Maokai, who's one of the most aggressive junglers in the game, very easily you can find yourselves in situations to get kills. I don't know, they just played a smart game and forcing Ordinance into the Cassiopeia ult the entire game. And that was key. Link was able to get the perfect ultimates basically.
Those ults
didn't really have to worry about it.
Those ults were just sheer money. That's all those ults were, was money. And even then, granted, at the beginning of the game, Ken was actually doing a pretty good job evading the first initial ults. But when you move into the team fight phase, those Cassiopeia ults, granted Ahri, that's fine. You can go ahead and evade all the ults you want. What about the rest of your team? You have to worry about them as well. And especially Yoda just got shut down. He got really shut down as Maokai, finishing the game at 1, 8, and 9, most deaths on the team. And even then, especially that last team fight, you saw the twisted advance, just into the middle of the team. There's got to have been some communication issues with that. There has to have been.
Yeah, I think the big thing is they're just trying to see if they could pick anyone off, see if they can get any quick damage, because they recognize it was a 4v4, and they I don't remember who it was. I think it was Corki, maybe wasn't with the team in that situation. So Maokai was trying to just see if they could harass some people down. They were in their base. They did have this rocket, so they could regen pretty easily. And I think he was really surprised by how quickly he went down. So, we'll have to see coming into game number 2 what kind of changes we see made. Shen, probably going to need to be banned out, was just absolutely devastating. I don't know. We could see Shen again. It's tough to say, but he is definitely a really strong pick and worked out very well in that game.
Yep. So we will be back in just a moment. Heading to game number 2 of CLG.Black and Ordinance IPL5 NA qualifier number 2. I'm Hat Person. With me always is the Red Bear, and we got these matches for you today, and we'll see you guys in just a moment. Stay tuned.